of Love and Light. Hi, I'm Phillip Mountrose with my guest, Dr. Ruth Anderson. We're here to talk to you today about communicating with higher beings of light, connecting with those beings of light today. And the circle of light and love is devoted to illuminating the world, shedding more light and love into it. And we come every Sunday at this hour, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we appreciate your support and input, and we look forward to connecting with you directly or in any way or through the chat today and through replays. And Ruth is a wonderful partner here today, and she's are you the director of Enlightened World Network, Ruth?
I'm the founder.
The
Yeah,
founder.
yeah.
Yes. And she's very gracious and has a lot of wisdom to share. And we wanted to focus on this topic, which sometimes is the quote elephant in the room, or the light being in the room, shall we say, about communicating with higher beings. And I want to reference our book. My partner, Jane Mountrose, and we wrote recently, The Loving Power of Your Soul, because there's a very good section in that, which I'm going to refer to, on connecting with light beings, higher beings, do's and don'ts, things to be aware of. Ruth, what comes to mind for you, or the questions or comments, or what would you like to say to start us out?
I love that we're talking about this today
Mm-hmm.
because I actually received the topic from a higher being. And so I love that we are having this conversation. And it's a great book, actually. I've got it, I've read it, and that particular section is really important because I think that if folks aren't grounded in divine light, really high vibrational divine light, I think folks can get into trouble if they're receiving information from lower vibrational beings and following that information. So I'm hoping, Phillip, we're going to talk today about how we know when we are connecting with higher vibrational beings.
Right, and that's I think it's something that occasionally people do have problems with, and if they're following something or having energies that are taking them down, that's obviously a sign that something's wrong. And I'm going to give some sort of checklist ideas of things to reference here. But to start out, a good place to start out would be cultivating qualities in yourself that would harmonize with the higher beings, because the idea of the higher beings is they are a higher vibrational. They're working on a different level, and we need to raise our level to connect with them. So we want to cultivate that in ourselves and be in the right place to do it, which means you might cultivate qualities such as being creative, your creative mind, or being curious, or being open-minded, enthusiastic, compassionate, loving qualities, qualities that are uplifting to you. Just note that in your day, which is a good thing to do in general, but that's going to help you uh, be prepared when you're going to connect with the higher beings. Did you want to mention anything else, share anything else about kind of cultivating qualities there?
To me, one of the most important things for me when I'm thinking about high vibrational energy is I ask an Archangel Michael and the Christ consciousness and the energy of the creator, because I know if I'm sitting in that high vibrational energy, anything that comes in has to be able to stand up to that high vibrational divine light, or it will remove itself. I have noticed that if a being comes in and I'm not sure about it, I'll ask Michael in, and at times that being will just go because it can't stand being in that high vibrational energy.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's my North Star on the compass. It's always asking in Michael.
Right. And if you have had problems with addictions or things of that nature, which many people have, that can throw you off and open up your energy to this kind of lower dimensional part of the fourth dimension, where beings are kind of hanging out who aren't integrated into the light yet, who could be looking on for energy from you. Um, so I also wanted to mention some common pitfalls of contacting with spiritual being, just why people can't contact at all. Uh, so there's the one problem is worrying about getting negative beings, which is rare. I've helped people who've had, those kind of po what possession type of thing and sent them to the light. It's not something that I sort of look to do, but it's basically sending that being who's kind of lost or abusing or manipulating someone to the light. But for most people, the challenge is not that, although that can be a serious problem if it occurs, but it's just, how can I connect, or what's going on, or how do I deepen it? And a couple things to help you, a couple tips here is you might be just afraid of being wrong, that like, oh, wow, um, maybe this is just my imagination. It's nothing real. It's not happening. Uh, you also might have an agenda that I have to have it a certain way, like the being has to look this way or sound this way, and it can be a lot subtler than that. The idea, again, cultivating those positive qualities is to have that open mind of bringing it in. And I'm going to tune into a higher being in a few moments here, and just opening, being in the right place and tuning into that dial. It's almost like tuning, getting in a radio frequency, and you're getting it clear. Oh, there it is. You're just, and the higher beings see or sense that you are opening up to them. And again, you want to have the right frame of mind and the right heart. Um, and those are a couple tips. And sometimes, like with tarot and oracle decks, you might think it's so obvious, things that are being told you, that you dismiss them, like, oh, I knew that. Yeah, yes. And it's trying to be, I did and oracle tarot decks is the same things, like, wow, that's obvious. I mean, I already knew that I drew this card, or I heard this message from a higher being. It's already, why, you know, I could have said that myself. Well, yes. Uh, I drew a card about prosperity and good fortune, I think it was yesterday, and it was just reminding me of the prosperity and good fortune that I have. Yeah, I do have. Sometimes we take these good things, often we do, for granted. And that's a real value of the higher beings, because you're hearing the things that, yes, you have good fortune, you have abundance, but you're in a higher state, so you can really appreciate it a lot deeper. Ruth, let me pause here, bring you in.
So many different thoughts come to mind, Philip. There's so many different ways that these beings can talk to us. And you're right. One way is through cards. And you want to make sure that that deck of cards, whatever it is, feels really good to you. Like when you're in the store and you're looking at them, really feel into them, because some of them aren't going to feel right.
Right.
Some are going to feel great. So what I do, I've got on my table right now, I've got 3 different decks of cards, and I will ask when I come down into my office every day, I ask, is there a card for me today? And I do muscle testing, and I don't know how you get your messages, but I get it in a lot of ways. But one of the ways is through muscle testing. And for me, it's about becoming a closed circle of energy. And when something is a yes answer and it's in alignment with my closed circle of energy, I can't break the seal. But
Right.
if the answer is no, then it's out of alignment with my circle of energy, and my fingers come apart really easily. So I will ask, is there a card for me? And if I get a yes, then I'll put my hand on each deck. Is it from this deck? Yes. Is it from this deck? No. Is it from this deck? No. So I take that deck and I'll just kind of spread it around. And typically one will just kind of fly out, and I'll ask, is that my card for today? And I'll again muscle test, and then I'll flip it over and read it. But that's just one of the ways that higher level energies can talk to me. And I know that, Philip, you use the cards a lot. Others is just even hearing. I might hear something like, oh, call Terry. And it's like, okay, I need to check in with Terry. Okay, that, I'll do it. When I hear things like that, I'll actually do it. And then another way is I will ask the questions. Should I go to this place today? Yes or no? And I do rely a lot on the yes or no answers. So many ways that spirit can talk to us.
Hmm. Some people also like to just keep it sort of open, like what would be the benefits of going here today, versus there today.
Yeah.
They have sort of a more open response. And that reminds me about getting responses that can be from the Oracle decks or higher beings. And you can get higher beings through Oracle decks, and a lot of these overlap. Is sometimes people want to get a completed message before they respond to this thing. They need to have a full picture, and it doesn't really work that well that way. So you want to piece it together. It would be like a movie. I think a good analogy, a rough analogy, a metaphor is a movie. Movie, you keep watching it. You don't know what's going to happen if it's a new movie, and you just watch frame by frame, scene by scene. And that's true with the guide. You don't know where the message is going. You just follow it, message by message, image by image. It's telling you a story. It's conveying a full narrative to you. So you let it unfold. If you try to rush it or get a complete answer, that can throw you off.
Right. Sometimes, Philip, I call that spiritual breadcrumbs because you get
That's good.
one tiny little piece and you take it, and then you get another tiny little piece and you take it. You just follow the breadcrumbs. Yeah.
And uh, another factor about connecting with guides I wanted to share is you might have questions that are too general. So if the more general your questions are, often the more general the answers are, which may be fine depending on what you're looking for. But if you're looking for something very specific, what would be the best way? What are some of the best ways to teach this class I'm going to be giving? Or that could be better than uh, what should I, what should I do tomorrow? How should I have a class? Should I have a class? That's a different question. That's pretty broad. And that's almost a yes, no question. Should I teach a class? But what's the best way for me to teach a class? Or what are the benefits for me to teach this class? Um, so if you can drill down, you're going to get better, more specific answers because the guides and the cards will answer from your intent. And that's a key. What are you intending? And in connecting with higher beings, you want to intend to connect with higher beings.
I think one of the big pieces too, Philip, is being quiet and listening.
Yes.
Don't have any agenda going into it, but really just listen. It's amazing what all they can tell you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because these are very profound beings, and you just want to keep following it. And sometimes I've noticed, Ruth, that I record my messages almost every morning, usually with an oracle deck and or beings communicating through me or with me. Uh, some of it, I'm just getting a sense of something deeper, but I can't quite articulate it. Sometimes I can. And then over the day, I can say, oh, now I get the depth of it, the profound nuggets or messages. Sometimes they do come out in the moment, but it may take a moment to realize what is the highlight of it. So stay with it. As you said, be quiet, reflect on it.
Well, and sometimes they don't tell you the whole story at once, partly because it's just too much.
Right.
Or you wouldn't believe it if they actually told you the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so they might give you part of it one day, part of it the next day, part of it a week later, and you just kind of keep track. And then after a period of time, you can go, oh, now I get it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In drawing oracle cards from certain decks, I often get the same oracle card numerous times, like maybe two times. I'll draw, maybe if I draw 7 cards in a week, I'll get 2 of them the same, which I don't know, the likelihood is rare. So the messages it's telling me the messages I want to emphasize and go deeper with that particular card's message. It's communicating me that this is, hey, wait a second, this is really important.
Yes.
It's not so much quantity as quality.
Well, the validation that you can get when you get the same card, and you think, how can I possibly get the same card? There's 50 cards here. How can I
Yeah.
possibly get the same one as yesterday? Yeah, such validation.
So the higher beings, they're always available and they're out of time. They're not in time like we are. They go in time with us. And so they can connect with many people. I mean, someone like Jesus or Buddha are connected with a lot of people. And so it's not linear the way we understand time while we're here. So to answer the question again about how can you tell if you're reaching a higher being, I'm drawing from our Loving Power of Your Soul book here. Um, there are two ways the higher beings as well as the oracle cards are. They will confirm things that you know and emphasize them and highlight them, and they will give you new information. So that's another sign like, wow, that's something I haven't thought of. Where did that come from? Uh, and it will be positive and uplifting too. That's another factor.
Mhm.
And you'll sense it feels a little different or maybe very different, and it is going to increase your awareness. You'll feel like you're quite aware and very focused yet relaxed in this expansive state. It's almost like time stands still as you haven't entered another dimension. Ruth, any thoughts you have about reaching a higher being, about confirming that for yourself?
Um, a higher being will never tell you to harm yourself or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
A higher being will basically have the same overall feeling, which is love, which is acceptance of everybody. Um, if you are getting any kind of biases or racism or hatred or anything like that, that's not a higher level being. I just
No.
No, what I'm getting from all of the higher level beings that I work with, it's love. That is the common message that comes through, and it might come through in many different ways, but that's the overarching message.
Yes, love and light. It does come down to that. They're in that frequency.
Yep.
And I'm going to draw from we have a very good chart in the Loving Power of Your Soul book, our most recent book with Jane Mountrose, my wife and partner, about higher beings will versus higher beings will not. I want to highlight a couple of these because I think this is a great concise list for us. Um, the higher beings will help you have a higher perspective. They're not going to bring you down, which is what I think you were saying earlier. Um, they'll allow for different truths. They won't come on as like the authoritarian, this is the ultimate truth, the only truth, kind of like a lot of gurus do as well. Uh, they're going to obviously be loving, as we said, not manipulative. Uh, they recognize that you have free will, that what they're offering is not something you have to do. It's a choice, an option, uh, rather than something where you feel like you're being controlled or imposed upon. And they do speak very positively about people and other people, and compassionate about people who are struggling or doing bad things. They have a deeper understanding of what's going on, and they versus making judgments about people. That would be, these are signs of say a lower being. They're going to point out that this might be a lesson for you, or maybe an easy way to learn something. um, and they'll put things in a deeper perspective rather than being, say, critical of you, like almost your inner critic, or this being that's criticizing you or demanding things of you or imposing. So it should feel good, and bottom line, it should feel good and uplifting. And that's why I'm never really concerned about what I'm doing, because I've never, having done this many years in many different ways, especially recently in the last several years, um, I always feel good. I never said, wow, that was really feel kind of odd like that. Some of the insights are pretty startling and amazing and even occasionally jaw dropping, but they're positive. They're not like a negative thing. Uh, and some people do get precognitions or things that could be problematic for the world and so forth, insights, and that's not someone manipulating you or breaking you down. There may be more of a warning, like an oracle prophetic warning.
Yeah,
Ruth,
I think
any further
that's a good,
thoughts on that? Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So if someone is having some puzzles, so I'm thinking maybe we should go to our uh, channel or I'll bring in a being from this really wonderful deck, one of the Oracle decks. It's a uh, deck by Catherine Skaggs, who's an artist, and she channeled these paintings in this deck. Very distinctive. I think she went to the Amazon with some shamans. And one card which I brought up before we went on air here to Ruth, who had some connection, was one of the cards is the Soul Star Ka, with the term remember. And before I draw my card to channel and get some messages, anything that you wanted to comment on that, because you've had a connection with a Ka spiritual being.
Well, Philip was just showing me this deck and he said, so for instance, there's this one and there's this one. Well, he pulled up this one and I was telling him that when I was just beginning to understand energy reading, I had a guide called Ka and I, part of my brain was like, okay, this is just silly that, there's this guide called Ka, but he did work with me for, I don't know, several months. And then I forgot about him. But Philip said the words on the card is remember all who you are as a soul. And so that made such perfect sense that as I was just beginning to understand this, that's who showed up to help me remember all who I am as a soul. I thought it was brilliant that that card showed up today.
And just to put the icing on the cake here, Ruth, I'm reading the card, and the little tagline ends with "Honor your knowing."
Oh,
Honor
thank you.
your knowing.
Thank you.
So, uh, bunch of cards here. Pick one out, and then I'm going to just connect with the cards and see what the message is for us today. We'll do a little meditation too. And I'm picking out a card. Let's see what's the best way to for the camera. Yeah, that's a good one. And some of these are familiar higher beings. Some of them we haven't heard of except Catherine Skaggs and probably a few people. Oh boy, this is chill time. Remember I said earlier that I get cards repeatedly. When I at a certain period of time a while back, I was using this card, and I've gotten this card 5 or 6 times. I mean, the deck has I don't know 44 cards, and I probably drawn this card maybe this is the 6th or 7th time,
Wow.
which is a very unusual card. So I'm glad, and it's magnitude like magnet. It's a Pleiadian angel truth. The tagline is divine truth is constant and eternal. Trust the harmonious feelings of your inner knowing. Magnitude. So this is a being, although very unusual, uh, and sometimes different stars have different angels, like Syrian angels and so forth, connected with them. Uh, and I don't quite know how that goes linearly or logically, but I'm, I will get some messages here for us. So let me take it away and see what Magnitude has to say for us. Yes, I am here. Thank you, Philip, for inviting me into your presence and into your circle. Yes, with much love comes much light and wisdom. If you keep following the light, there will be amazing opportunities available for you every day. The light shows you the way. The light is the way. And when you go into the light, you your wings light up, you start to flutter, you start to fly more, you become lighter. So let that lift you up. Breathe into that. You are much love. You are much wisdom. You are a angel unfolding. You are a human divine being. You are many things, and you're connected to many things. And as you feel more light and love in your heart, it radiates out from you to everything and everyone. And it makes the world a more lighter and loving place. So remember, however difficult the steps are, there still is light and love somewhere in there. And when you connect with it, you can hold on to that and brighten it even through the darkest periods. It's still there, and we will be with you from now until forever.
So
Okay,
once again, we're seeing the light and the love coming through in this. Beautiful.
that seems to be the theme.
Yep.
You know, the theme seems to be the theme.
And
So I'm
you're,
still vibrating a little bit from that. Go ahead, Ruth.
I loved how you said no matter how difficult the times are, there is still some light in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an important message because I know that there are a number of folks that are really hurting right now for
Right.
one reason or another. And if you can just sit back and yeah, feel the hurt, but also allow, is there any space
Mm-hmm.
for light and
Mm-hmm.
love right now?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Look for the light and love even amidst all the pain and suffering. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another reason to reach up to the higher dimensions to be more in that. So when we're there, we're above the human suffering experience that we volunteered to come here to explore, uh, partly so we can understand it more and have certain experiences and connect with certain people and also rise above it.
Right.
As
Well,
so we're lifting everyone up.
and when you said with much love comes wisdom, the light is the way.
Mhm,
Yeah, that's pretty profound right there.
mhm. Say that again. I'd like to hear that myself. That had a nice ring to it.
Yeah, you said with much love comes wisdom.
Hmm. Hmm.
The light is the way.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes us lighter and more loving. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, maybe we should go into a brief meditation here, and I can bring Magnitude in again,
Yeah.
the beautiful Pleiadian angel. She has from one of her hands is emanating heart, one is emanating lit up heart. I don't know what the other one is, almost like a sun. If you can see that, can you see that?
Yeah, it's not just a sun. It actually looks like an eye too.
Yeah, maybe an eye. Yeah, yeah, opening up your higher chakras in your
Yeah.
hands.
There's definitely energy coming out through that hand.
Hmm.
Yeah. Ooh, interesting. It draws you in.
So
Interesting.
she called it truth, a deeper level of truth. Okay. Okay. So we could take a few minutes to just go in a meditative
Yeah.
state, bring in Magnitude's energy again. Um, and then I think I'll sort of sum things up. I think we're coming to a good full circle here of what we started with. So we can close our eyes and breathe and relax. We can just breathe and relax and go on a little bit of a journey here as we relax even more. And our body lets go even more as we relax with every breath we take. With Magnitude guiding us, we imagine that heart opening up in our hand, one heart that's opening up. and our heart opening up in our chest. It's just opening up with more love. And that other hand lighting the way, leading us to a beautiful place where we have wonderful resources, higher dimensional resources, where we can have our inner knowing grow as we allow it to lead and guide us in the perfect way for each of us individually, which helps us all grow together. And as we see ourselves on this path of heart and knowingness, there may be a wonderful energies circulating. There may be resources in terms of higher beings there. There could be wonderful colors or images there, like the heart, like the lit up hand of Magna guiding us into more and more wisdom and knowingness and truth. Seeing all things unfold, participating in it lovingly and creatively, using the resources, the images, the colors, the truth and knowingness to light our way and share the love to ourselves, first of all, imparting us more love and light to ourselves so we can feel more elevated and help others more easily in the right way, at the right time, in the right place. And knowing we can gather these resources, the wonderful open heart, the guiding hand, the other resources that we have connected to today with Magnitude's wonderful light and truth and knowingness helping us. And use that in any way we wish today and going forward. And we'll come back into our seats. 1, 2, remembering what we want. 3, removing what we don't want. 4, feeling refreshed, returning on 5, opening your eyes in the room, guided with more truth in our hearts, more guidance in our hands and knowingness. Ruth, any comments or sharing? I know we're integrating as we come back.
Mhm. I immediately was drawn into that space in the hand,
Mm-hmm.
and I was seeing it as an opening. So
Mm-hmm.
I was going through that opening, and it was just vast awareness, like
Mm-hmm.
expanding and opening my awareness. And I heard the words, all is in divine order.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to sit and hold space and realize that that expanded awareness will help me to hold space even better, even bigger than I normally do. So thank you. I really enjoyed sitting in that energy.
I had something similar with that hand. That was very powerful. I was following that hand, that image that Magnitude has, like her hand is guiding the way of that energy coming out of the hand as showing us resources and energy. It's very powerful too. It has sort of a power to it directing us.
Yeah.
It's like a rod or something when you're being able to find the way. What is that where what do you call that? I don't know if that's a dowsing rod or is there sort of
Or
something
like
that's
a divining rod
a
or
divining rod. Divining rod. So again, just to recap what we said, higher beings, which I think Magnitude is a good example. Uh, they have a higher perspective. Uh, they acknowledge different truths. They're loving and embracing. They allow for free will. Uh, they speak positively. They show us different ways to learn, easy ways to learn. They give us deeper perspectives. So all of that fit the bill.
it did. It did.
It did. Well, Ruth, were there any kind of closing comments here for you? Anything
So,
about connecting with higher beings you want to mention in closing here?
yeah, I do. Enlightened World Network is about helping folks find their understanding of the creator and divine love and divine light. And I really do believe that the higher vibrational beings are gifts from God. The creator, I believe everything is created by the creator. And definitely, I mean, this was a Palladian angel, and not all folks are open to other dimensions. And I just everything here is created by the creator. So I think it's okay to enjoy it. Anything that takes us to higher vibrational love and light, it's okay to enjoy it.
It is. Yeah, it's something that makes our life a lot richer and the world a lot better, a lot more beautiful place to live in. Well, we want to thank everyone for being with us and sending out more light and love into the world today on the Circle of Light and Love. Usually Jane Mountrose, my wife and partner, hosts this. And we're sending this out to the world, and the world needs it. Magnitude's there helping us send it out. And thank you, Ruth, for participating in that. Let the world be a little more peaceful, loving, and spiritually overlit place. And it is, but people need to be open to it, which is what we're doing. We're providing openings here, bridges.
Thank you, Philip.
And Ruth, if people want to find out more about you or connect with you, how do they do that?
Go to Enlightened World Network. Our website is enlightenedworld.online, and there's all kinds of stuff there about us. If you wanted to reach out to me, you can do that through Facebook Messenger, Ruth Anderson.
Great. And if you want to connect with me or my wife, Jane Mountrose, and I, we would recommend starting with our resource kit here, the free resource kit for light workers. And that's at tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit. So there's an excerpt from our new book, our recent book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, which we were drawing on from today, and on the liveness checklist and an EFT video. There's some other things that I think you'll enjoy for that free resource. So we appreciate you being with us, bookmarking us, watching the replays, sharing the message, getting the love out. Until next time, thank you so much, Ruth, for being with us. Have more love. Mom, the two sends her love too.